In this video, I will talk about the activation functions, which we already have discussed in a previous video. It was an introduction in the previous video. Here, we will formally introduce the functions, the mathematics, and the meaning of these two functions. So let me just first discuss sigmoid activation function. On the right hand side, you see a picture, but first we need to look at the image, look at the mathematics of this function. Sigmoid function is defined as f of z is equal to 1 over 1 plus e raised to power minus z. This is how we define the sigmoid function. Z is not a complex number. Remember that Z is any independent variable. It can be written like this, plus minus x. Since we are very much used to of writing x as independent variable, then we become comfortable with that. But here, Z is just a number. One of the properties you may see over here, this function can never be negative. Since this is positive, and positive will be added to the positive value, and we get at the end positive value. But the question is, what will be the lowest and what will be the maximum value it can attain? As you can see that this quantity can have some numbers. For example, this quantity has value of 2. Then 1 will be added to the 2, and you can see that at the end we will get a value less than 1. And it is true for all the values for the denominator. Okay. Now the question is, what is the minimum value? As you can see that when z approaches to infinity, if z is very large value, then we have, for example, 1 plus e raised to power minus infinity, and that is 1 plus 1 over infinity. So we get 1 over 1 plus 0, and this is 1. So it means that for large value of z, the quantity has a value 1. So it has value 1. And if z approaches to minus infinity, it means that it has a very small value. Z approaches to minus infinity, then we have, for example, minus infinity 1 over 1 plus e raised to power infinity, which means that 1 plus infinity, and then we have 1 over infinity, so this is 0. So the minimum value this function can get is 0. So it has a value, it means that f of z belong to 0 and 1. As this is obvious from this image, from this figure, you can see that, for example, here we have a value of when z approaches to minus infinity, function has a 0 value, and we also have a value of 1, right? So f of z is in the interval 0 and 1. In previous video, I discussed with you the 0 and 1, the open interval. It can be closed interval, but z cannot be in the real situation. In the data we have, probably we cannot get 0 z approaches to infinity or z approaches to minus infinity, so on. Okay, so that's what we have over here. So f of z belong to 0 to 1. It can have 0 and the highest value is 1. On the right hand side, you can see the derivative of this activation function. So If you take a derivative of this, you can get, for example, 1 plus e raised to power minus z minus 1. So you get minus 1, 1 plus e raised to power minus z minus 2, then take a derivative of 1 plus e raised to power minus z. So at the end, we get e raised to power minus z 1 plus e raised to power minus z square. So we have a very smooth derivative f dash z. This is f dash z, which is equal to the right hand side over here. And the same function, the sigmoid function and the derivative has been drawn over here in the right hand side. You can see that this is actually a sigmoid function. And then we have this one as a derivative of sigmoid function. This becomes very important when we want to take a derivative of our output. For example, if we have our input and we have output and there is weights W1 and W2 and this is X1 and X2, and if we have, for example, sigmoid function acting on E, which is W1 X1 plus W2 X2. So we need to find a derivative of this function with respect to some weights in future. So this derivative becomes easier if activation function is such that it has no problem in derivatives. Okay, we will talk about that in future. Currently, you just follow it. You will understand if you just follow the course. Okay, now how this will help us? This activation function will act on all the numbers you get. If, for example, we have 3 inputs and we have 2 hidden layers and 1 and 2, for example, 2 neurons in input layer. This is input layer. This is output. This is hidden layer 1, hidden layer 1. This is hidden layer 2. So for example, if some value you get over here, from this, and so on, then we have this. So from here we have, for example, E is equal to f of x1 w1 plus x2 w1 or 2, whatever that is. So here you get any number. You will get a number, for example, 0.2 or 0.3 or so on, maybe 2 or 3, whatever that value is. You put that value into the activation function. And you do the same for all the values over here, over here, over here, and so on. And this decides either this value should go to the next neuron, some linear combination, something like that, so on. So that's how it will work. Here we have just discussed a very simple neuron which is called perceptron. In perceptron we only take 2 inputs and we have output. And this problem become very easier. For example, if we have 0.3, we simply put that value into the activation function defined above, sigmoid activation function. Okay, this was about the sigmoid function. The next one is the rectilinear function. Rectilinear function is defined like this. F of z is z if z is greater than 0, and it is 0 otherwise. It is 0 otherwise. So that's how it is defined, uh, how this function is defined in ANN or in calculus. So we have a graph on the right hand side. You can see that this function is only exist when z is greater than 0. It does not exist when the values are negative. So it means that if we have, for example, if we have E is equal to W1 x1 plus W2 x2, if it is minus 0.5 and you apply the you apply the rectilinear function on this f of minus. So this makes your calculation equal to 0. For negative value or 0, it gives you the 0 answer. Sometimes negative is not very much important, or negative is something that you may want to avoid in future. So this is all about the rectilinear function. On the right hand side, if you apply the derivative, the definition of derivative, limit h approaches to 0, f of z plus h minus f of z over h. If you apply this definition on this given function, which is rectilinear function, then you will get at the end f dash z is equal to 1 if z is greater than 0, and it is 0 if z is less than 0, and it is undefined if z is equal to 0. As you can see that on the right hand side, this is a graph of derivative function. You can see that f dash z is 1, then it is 0, and here we have a jump, which is a jump discontinuity over here. So for z is equal to 0, the derivative is undefined. So sometime it happens that the derivative becomes undefined, which is not very much uh, good, which is not very much uh, required, for example. But we have this ReLU function. It is also called a ReLU function, which is very common thing, ReLU function or ReLU function, rectilinear function, rectilinear activation function. And the good thing about this ReLU function is you calculate the gradients in a very cheap manner. It is very cheaper to calculate the derivative of rectilinear activation function. This becomes important when you have a million and billion of points and you want to find the gradient, and we will talk about the gradient in future. Then it becomes very important to have a function which derivative is cheaper than a function which has expensive derivative. Thank you for watching.